Okay, so we're gonna start in constructive rest. So come onto your back. Step your feet, fairly wide to the outer edges of your mat. Let your knees drop in towards each other and just let your arms come into a comfortable position, wherever feels good to you. So we're just gonna take a minute to find that settling in sensation. Let your body quiet down, let your mind quiet down, and just take a couple nice deep breaths here. And then once you feel like you've found that kind of settled in sensation, like your muscles have stopped efforting, just take a quick second to tune into your physical body. Notice if there's any parts of your body that are calling attention to them or still need that little bit of space to settle in. And then as you give your body that extra moment for whatever parts need that little extra settling in, start to notice the floor beneath you. Notice that nice solid feeling of the ground underneath you. And then just see if you can take a nice big breath and feel that shift of connection points as you take a big inhale. And then as you exhale, just let your body soften a little deeper into the floor. Take a big inhale, notice the solidness of the floor beneath you. And soften with your exhale. One more nice big breath here. And then before we move away from this place, just take a moment to set an intention to honor your mind and your body throughout your practice. Never doing anything in your practice that would cause your body pain, and treating yourself with love, care, and respect. And then with that intention set, bring your arms into goalpost or cactus arms. Create a little space for the shoulder blades. Make sure everything feels good and snuggled in. And then we're going to take some windshield wipers with the knees. Just a little bit of gentle movement so we can kind of tune in. Notice your hips and your low back here. And you might even notice your knees. So just notice any places in your body that you might feel a little sensation. Nice. Take one more rock of the knees side to side. And then we're going to set up for our first posture. So I'm going to roll over onto my left just so you can see what's going on, but you can pick whichever arm you like to use first. We're going to roll over onto one side, and I'm going to take my right hand and slip it behind me and reach my fingertips up between the shoulder blades. Now, if it feels good here, you might be happy just staying on your side in the side lying position. But if it feels comfortable to do so, making sure that your palm is facing out, you're going to roll over onto your back again. And then it's going to trap your hand underneath, and then you're just going to readjust, make sure everything feels like a safe and comfortable position. If at any point this feels like it becomes too much for your shoulder, you always have the option to roll back onto your side. But if it feels good to do so, roll onto your back, find that constructive rest position again with your knees, or keep them in that just bent knee position, whatever feels good there, so you don't have to effort too much. And then your other arm, the arm that's not trapped underneath, just let it find a comfortable place out at your side or resting on your belly, whatever feels good. And then take a moment here to allow some softness to come in. So you're in this a little bit of a crooked position if you've got the hand underneath your back and you're rolled back onto your backside. So allow a moment or two to let your shoulder soften. Let your hand soften underneath you. And as we come into these yin postures and we hold them for long periods of time, we want to put a positive stress on the joints, but we just want to be mindful of the difference between a positive stress and pain. So if at any point there's electric shooting or sharp pain in the shoulder or anywhere else along the arm, you might want to roll back onto your side and just keep the hand between the shoulder blades. But if all is feeling good, soften the shoulder, soften your jaw. And then you might start to tune in and notice your breath here. So you might be able to feel that physical movement of breath underneath your hand. We have about a minute left on this hold on this side. So just tune in and make sure everything is still feeling good. No sharp or shooting pain in the shoulder or down the arm. Softness in your jaw, and allow your breath to be a barometer. So if you can breathe comfortably with ease, nice slow and fluid inhale, and then nice soft exhale, everything is going well. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly and mindfully start to roll over to one side. If you're laying on your back, we're going to gently release that arm and then maybe just take a couple of movements of the arms. You might reach it up towards the ceiling, wiggle your fingers, bend and straighten your elbow, any little thing that works out that dull ache that you may have come across. Maybe circle your shoulder in one direction and then circle it the other way. And then once you feel like everything is feeling good, we're going to take all of that to the other side. So you might opt to lay on your side, sliding your hand behind you and tucking your fingers up in between your shoulder blades just as far as they naturally go, and then find softness there. If that feels great and it feels good to do so, rolling onto your back and then taking a moment to settle in there. So you're going to find the version that you like best, and one side might be totally different than the other. So you might find that you were able to roll onto your back on one side or not, and then the other side works completely different. So allow your body to work in the way that it works best. And then once you've found your place, invite some softness in. See if you can find some softness around the shoulder. Soften your hand, soften your jaw. Take a moment here to assess. Just notice your rhythm of breath. Are you breathing comfortably? Nice slow inhales, Nice, slow but natural exhales, and just make sure your breath is moving out with ease. And then if anything feels like it's become too much, you always have the option to roll over onto your side. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly work your way out. So roll over onto one side. If you're on your back, slide that arm out and then take it back onto your back, and then just find some gentle movement. Maybe bending and straightening your elbow, wiggling out your hand and your wrist, finding some gentle movement in the shoulder, whatever feels good, just to kind of work out that little dull ache. And then once all is feeling good, we're going to start to find our way up into a seated position. So take your time as you come on up, and we're going to keep ourselves in that seated position with our knees bent and come right into our Western stretch. So hands behind you, fingertips maybe pointing in toward your butt if you have that available in the shoulders. And then once you found your way there, you're going to push into your palms and then lift your chest. So you're going to get a little gentle back bend here, a little squeeze in the shoulder blades, and then whichever variation works best for your head and your neck. So some of us might feel good to tuck the chin down to the chest, and some of us might feel good to let the head drop back. So you choose your own adventure there and just find what feels the best to you. And then just check in right away. Make sure you're breathing comfortably. And then see if you can start to notice here. So when you were in that other position with the hand behind the back, you might have been easily able to notice and pay attention to the breath between the shoulder blades and the back side of the body. But now you might be able to easily pay attention to the breath through the chest and the front of the body. So see if you can tune in there and notice your breath, that nice expansion of the chest as you breathe in, and the softening of your belly and your ribs as you breathe out. And take a moment here just to kind of tune in and assess your hands and your wrists. So you might feel a little compression or a little closing off the blood flow to your fingers. And a little tingling sensation is fine and safe. But if it feels like it's sharp or shooting in the hands or the wrist, then you might want to readjust and maybe turn your fingers out and away. And you can still find that squeeze in the shoulder blades, but not compromising the wrist. So just make sure you're staying in a safe and comfortable position for your body. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, we'll slowly come out. Gently lift yourself up away from the wrist, and then give your fingers a little wiggle, give your wrist a little twirl just to kind of work out that ache that you may have come across there. And then once you feel like you've got your hands and your wrist wiggled out, grab hold of your knees and just take a couple of gentle cat and cows here, just to kind of bring a little fluid back into the spine, make sure everything feels good. Awesome. And then from here, we're going to take it right into a seated forward fold. So we're just going to step the feet forward, keep a super generous bend in the knees, and then just kind of wiggle around in your sits bones and your tush so that you might feel like your tailbone is kind of tilted backwards towards the back edge of your mat, and then find some softness here. So you want to let the legs turn out or turn in just the way that they naturally go. So no need to effort in your legs. And of course, my dog is blocking the view. So we just want to let your feet turn out naturally. Nice bend in the knees, and then just fold yourself over to a point that feels comfortable. And you might even be upright a little bit. There might be just a very slight forward fold. You're going to find a fold that feels comfortable that you can soften into. Let your hands rest wherever is the most comfortable. Invite softness into the back of your neck. Invite some softness into your shoulder blades. And as you hang out here and get more and more comfortable, you might find you lose sensation. So you might want to create a little space and sink a little bit deeper in, or you might find you found too much sensation and you might want to dial it back. So make sure that you're feeling like you're comfortable staying at a level of 5 and 7 of intensity. So we're not going to a 10. We're staying nice and positive in our positive stress that we put on the joints. And then once you feel like you're in a good position, just take a second to notice where in your body do you feel sensation? Are you feeling a stretch along the backs of the legs? Do you feel sensation in the low back? And there's not really any right or wrong here because everybody's going to feel a little bit different in their own body. But are you breathing comfortably? Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, we'll start to slowly come up and out. So walk your hands up so you help your way up. And then just take a second to step your feet in to a nice bent knee position. Rock your knees a little bit side to side. Bring a little massage into the glutes, a little movement back into the hips. Nice. And then once you feel like everything is feeling good, you've worked some things out, we're going to flip over onto our belly and we're going to take it into our tree frog pose. So flip yourself over in any way that works best for you. Come on down onto your belly. Give a second to kind of wiggle into that position. And then we're going to take the right leg and slide it on up. So either your foot is going to be at a 90-degree bend with your heel in line with your knee out from the shoulder, out from the hip, or your foot is going to come in towards the inner thigh. So you're going to pick a version that feels good. And then if you don't have a lot of external rotation in the legs, you might choose to keep it a little bit lower and a little bit lighter. So what we want is an external rotation. So the inner thigh is facing down towards the floor, and then nothing else to do here, but just to let everything settle in. So you're going to stack your hands, let your forehead rest. And then see, where can you find softness? Can you soften your gluteus muscles? Can you soften your thigh muscles? Can you soften your calf muscles in your feet? And so the real purpose of this pose is to create a little bit of a shortening of the hip flexor muscles. And then we want to invite some softness there. So we want to teach those muscles at the front of the hip and the hip crease. We want to teach those muscles to chill out a little bit. So if you can invite softness all around that space, let your hips be heavy, let your belly be soft. We have about a minute left on our hold here, so just tune in and notice if you picked up tension in your butt, your thighs, or your foot. See if you can invite a little softness back in. And then see if you can tune in to just notice that little bit of compression of your belly against the floor. So you might notice and feel the expansive breath in the backside of your body. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, you're just going to prop yourself up a little bit to create a little space. So you can slide that leg out long, give everything a little wiggle. Wiggle out your bum, wiggle out your shoulders, and maybe bend your knees and swish your heels a little side to side just to kind of soothe out the low back. Make sure everything feels good. And then when you're ready, we're going to take that all to the other side. So you're going to let your left leg come down and then slide. Just let your right leg come down and slide that left leg up. So in that external rotation, your knee might be in line with the hip. Your heel might be in line with the knee, or your foot might come in like you're in more of a tree pose. So you're going to pick the variation that feels the best and then settle in. Let your hands be stacked, let your forehead rest, and then see if you can invite that softness back in. Soften your glutes, soften your thighs, soften your calves. Take a moment to tune in and notice. Notice if you picked up any tension in your butt or your legs, can you let those muscles soften? Sometimes in these yin poses, the hardest thing is resisting the urge to rush off to the next pose. So allowing that stillness to come into your body so we can get to that plastic tissue, the tendons, the joints, and the ligaments so that we can get to that good work, allowing the muscles to soften so we can find those places. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, prop yourself up just a little bit so you can slide that leg nice and long. Give everything a little wiggle, wiggle out your tush, wiggle out your shoulders, make sure everything's feeling good. Maybe bend your knees and swish them again. And we're just going to take one more pose in this belly down position. So we're going to move right into our Sphinx pose. So when you feel good, float your feet down, walk your elbows in. So elbows in line with the shoulders, hands in a parallel position. Spread your fingers fairly wide, but then invite some softness into your hands right away. And then we're going to see about pulling the elbows back just a little bit energetically so we feel a little squeeze between the shoulder blades. But then check in, did you pick up tension down at your feet or into your butt? Can you soften your butt? Can you soften the backs of your thighs? And then if it feels good to do so, you can tuck chin down to chest or keep your chin lifted, whatever feels like a better way to go here. But we want to find that little tiny bit of squeeze in the shoulder blades, but then softening the muscles around the low back. So you might feel that bit of compression in the low back and the spine, but can you soften the muscles around that space? Take a moment here to tune into your breath. And then if this has all become too easy and you've lost sensation, for this last minute, if you want a little extra sensation, take it into your seal pose, press into your palms, lift the elbows away from the floor, and find that bigger back bend, but only if that feels good, because this does require a little extra effort. And then once you've found that lift, then you want to invite that softness back in as much as you can. Soften your bum, soften the backs of your legs, soften your toes. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, slowly, gently, mindfully lower yourself down. Take a second to relax your bum, wiggle everything out. And then we're going to push our way right up into a tabletop position. Take a couple of cat and cows here just to kind of soothe the spine. So let your belly drop and then let your back round, just moving a little fluid back into the spine. Nice. And then from here, we're going to start to find our way into our lunge. So right foot forward or left foot forward, totally up to you. It doesn't matter. We're going to hit both sides, but think about just stepping one foot forward into a lunging position, hands down on the ground, And then you're going to pick your variations from here. If you already know that a lunge is not your jam and holding it for 3 minutes feels like it's everlasting, you might choose to just flip it over onto your back and work it into a half happy baby, grabbing the outer edge of the heel and letting the knee sink down. But if it feels good to take it into a lunge, option to keep the knee down, option to bring some blocks in to help bring the floor up to meet. So you might just place those blocks in front of you and stay a little bit more lifted. You might just choose to keep your hands at your knees. And then you might also choose to use a chair. It's a really nice way to give yourself a little bit of support, and then just check in with that back knee and make sure it feels comfortable. So if you need to cushion your knee that's down on the ground, take the time to do so, or just rearrange it so it feels comfortable. And then from here, any other variation that you like. So if you're in this big lunge position, you want to come down elbows and forearms and sink a little bit deeper, go ahead and take that variation if it feels right to you. And then see if you can invite some soft stillness in. Soften your jaw. Take a moment to tune into your breath. We've already been here for 1 minute, so just tune in and notice. If anything feels like it's wrong or it needs adjusting, take the time to do that for yourself. But if all is feeling good, see where you can invite softness in. Can you soften your feet and your toes? Can you soften the space between your eyes? We've got about a minute left here, so if you need to make any adjustments, take the time to do it. But if all is feeling good, tune back into your breath. Notice your inhalation. Notice your exhalation. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, slowly and mindfully release. Draw yourself back to a tabletop position or any other position that feels good, something that you can kind of work it all out. So you want to maybe bop your hips a little side to side, wiggle your bum around, wiggle your spine, maybe even sit back on your heels and give your wrists a little wiggle if you're holding that upright position. So any little bit of work that you need to soothe everything out. And then once you feel like you've worked it all out, we'll take it right to the other side. So you're going to step that foot forward, maybe in the same variation you took on the other side, or maybe you need to switch things up. You might choose to use your blocks. You might choose to stay a little bit more upright, and you might even choose a little squared up 90-90 with the tailbone drawing down. So what we're shooting for is sensation through to the front of the hip, the place that we asked to chill out in that tree frog pose. That's where we're finding most of the work, hopefully. But with each of us, there'll be subtle variations. So I still find a little work in my wrists here, a little work in my shoulder. So any place that you might feel sensation, take the time here to notice that. And then see where you can invite softness in. We've already been here a minute, so just tune in and notice, is there anything that needs to be adjusted? Can you take a nice big breath and resist that urge to rush off to the next place? We've got 1 minute left here, so just tune in and notice if there's anything you need to adjust. If you feel like you've lost sensation and you want to sink deeper, find your way there. If you feel like you've gotten too much sensation and you need to dial it back, take the time to do that. Take one more breath. And then when you're ready, slowly start to find your way out, pulling the hips back, coming into a tabletop position or coming out in any way that feels good to you. And as you find your way into that tabletop position, maybe just pop your hips a little side to side, move your shoulders, move your spine. And then if it feels like you want to, sit back on your heels and just wiggle your wrists a little bit to find a little soothing there. From here, we are going to take our way into child's pose or extended child's pose. So you're going to choose the variation you like best. I personally like my knees nice and wide on my mat, plenty of space for my belly and my chest, but some people might like a little bit more of a supported child's pose for the low back. So if you think knees together would be the better way to go, you're going to keep the knees together, hands behind you or hands nice and long, totally up to you, or knees out wider so you create a little space. And then either way, bring your bum back to your heels and let everything soften back down. Belly and chest soften, back side of the body softens. And then invite some softness into your arms, your fingers, and your wrists. So let everything just get heavy towards the earth. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, slowly start to lift yourself up into a tabletop position, walking your knees in so that they're lined with the hips. We're going to just take one little down dog here, just to kind of bring a little length back into the backs of the legs. So if you like to, stretch your hips up towards the sky in that upside down V shape, and then just take a couple of bops of the knees, pressing into one heel and then bending the other knee. Nice. And then once you feel like you've brought the little length back into the backs of the legs, we're just going to walk the feet forward so that we can sit down onto our butt, and we're going to take it onto our back sides again. So we're going to take it into a figure 4 on our back. So come on down, take a moment to find your way there, and then right leg across the left. You might choose to stay here. This might already feel like enough. And if it is, hang out here, invite softness in. If it feels good, but you want a little bit more sensation, you might choose to lift the leg up and thread your hands through. And then once you feel like you found your way there, maybe not so deep of a pull as you would do in your traditional flow class. So keep a little space here and give a little time to let things settle in all on their own. Let your shoulders soften. Invite a little softness into your left leg, your left foot, and maybe even a little softness into your right foot. And then just take a little time here to notice your breath. Take a gentle inhale. Notice the movement of breath in your belly and your chest. And then notice if you're gripping in your shoulders, or if your shoulders are super rounded and you're feeling like they're rising up towards the ceiling. Make a little space, snuggle your shoulders in, let your shoulders soften down, and then find that softness again. Breathing comfortably into your belly and your chest. Take one more breath here. And then if you're holding onto the back of the thigh or the shin, slowly and mindfully release. We're going to keep the right leg in that figure 4 configuration. And then if you can, if it feels available, keeping that foot across the knee, drop your knees over to the right. So into a little figure 4 twist. We're not going to stay here very long. We're just going to see how does that feel to settle into that position. If at any point it feels like it's wrong for your knee or for your hip, you're just going to step that foot off, but keep that little twisted position with the knees dropped out to the side if you can. And then if all else is feeling good, bring your arms out at your shoulders into a little bit of a T shape. And then we're just going to take a little side bend. So your left hand is going to reach down towards your left foot as your right hand reaches up towards the top edge of your mat. So we're hugging in the left side body, reaching the left hand towards the left foot, right hand reaching up, and knees dropped over to the right. And then just take 3 nice deep breaths here. Cool. And then when you're ready, slowly bring those arms back out. So we unwind that side bend and then lift the knees back to center. Step your right leg off the left. Maybe take a couple of gentle windshield wipers just to kind of soothe everything out. And then once you feel like you've got it kind of worked out, we're going to come to that figure 4 on the other side. So start by stepping the left leg across the right, and you might already be there. This might be enough work for you. And if it is, stay here. And if it's all feeling good and you want a little bit more sensation, you're going to lift the right leg up, thread the hands through. Maybe you catch the back of the thigh, maybe the top of the shin. You're going to choose whichever grab feels good. And then you're going to kind of loosen it up just a little bit. Make a little space for yourself here. Find a space that you can keep your shoulders soft. See if you can soften your right leg, soften your left foot. And then take the time to notice your breath here. Take a big, expansive breath. Let the belly inflate. Let the chest get nice and puffy. And then as you exhale, just let everything soften. Take a moment here to tune in. Notice your shoulders. If your shoulders are hiked up and rounding up, maybe you need to create a little space to allow your shoulders to soften so you're comfortable in this position and invite some softness in. So hopefully you're finding sensation in the outer edge of your left hip and your glute. But if not, where in your body are you feeling sensation? Just take the time to notice. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, if your leg is lifted, slowly and mindfully release, but keep that figure 4 shape if you can. And then we're going to drop the legs over to the left. So knees are going to drop down, arms are coming out at the shoulders in that T position. And then just make sure that that feels safe and comfortable to the knee and to the hip. And if you need to, unstack your foot. So we want to keep the knees down, but only if it feels safe and comfortable to the knee and the hip. And then once you feel like you've got a good position with your legs, add that side bend. Right hand's going to reach towards the right foot as the left hand reaches up. So we get a little squeeze in at the side body, and take 3 nice deep breaths here. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, slowly come out, bringing the arms back out straight at the shoulders, lifting the knees back up, stepping your left foot off the right, and then maybe take a couple of gentle windshield wipers just to kind of soothe everything out. Make sure your knees feel good, hips feel happy. And then just take the time here to tune in and notice where would be your best Shavasana. Would it feel good to come back to constructive rest and let the knees drop in towards each other? Can be super supportive to the low back. Would it feel better to take that more traditional shape, extending the legs long, or any other variation here that you like? If you opt to take a reclined cobbler's pose, if you don't have deep external rotation in the hips, I would highly recommend placing some pillows or blocks underneath the outer edges of your thighs so it offers support and you're not kind of yanking against your SI joint and undoing some of the good work in your practice. So make sure that you find yourself in a position that feels comfortable, restful, and supportive. And then once you found your way there, take a second to invite that softness back in. Invite a softness back into your breath, just tuning in and finding the gentle, natural rhythm of your breath again. Eyes can be closed or just soften your gaze. Soften your hands and your feet. Soft and heavy in your legs and your arms. Tune in and notice if you're holding tension in your butt or your hips, can you allow that to soften? And then invite that softness to come up into your belly, releasing any tension around your belly button. And then finding a soft heaviness in your chest and your shoulders. Start to bring your awareness back into your body. Gently wake up the fingers, wake up the toes. If it feels good to do so, turn your head a little bit side to side, inviting some gentle movement back into your head and your neck. And then if it feels really good to do so, take a little good morning stretch. Reach your fingers up and overhead, stretch through your toes, take a nice big breath back into your body. And then before we find our way up to a seated position, we're going to just pull our knees up into the chest. So just see if you can catch hold of those knees. Just give yourself a nice little gentle hug. And we're going to take those knees and draw them in circles. Go in one direction. And then take your knees and draw them in circles. Go the other way. Nice. And then maybe just another little rock side to side just to kind of soothe things out. And then if you like to, you can roll to one side or rock and roll your way up, but take your time as you find your way up to a comfortable seated position. Sukhasana, if that feels like a nice way to sit, or any other seat that feels good. Great. And then once you found your way there, we're just going to do a little lymphatic movement to finish our practice. So we're going to rub our hands together, get your palms nice and toasty and warm, create a little friction between your palms. And then once you feel like your hands are nice and warm, open them up like a book, reach up and overhead, touch the space between your shoulder blades, glide your hands towards your heart, flip them out, bring them back together and fire them up again. Get them nice and good and hot. And then once you feel like your palms are nice and warm, open them up like a book, reach them up and overhead, touch the space between your shoulder blades, glide your hands toward your heart, flip them out. And then one last time, clap them together, fire up those palms to get them nice and good and warm. And then once you feel like your palms are nice and warm, open them up like a book, reach them up and overhead, touch the space between your shoulder blades, glide your hands toward your heart, flick them out, and then bring your hands to prayer hands to heart center and Anjali Mudra and bow your head to your heart. Breathing in love and gratitude for yourself, for your mind, for your body, and for all of your hard work. Take another nice big inhale. And as you exhale, invite some softness into your shoulders and think about letting go of anything you're holding on to that won't serve you through the rest of your night. And gently lift up through the top of your head. Gently open your eyes. I bow to you. Happy Monday.